So what's going on with you these days, Flo-chan? Kyoko took a sip from her beer and placed it back on the table, next to a bowl of edamame shells. Yeah, what's up? Said Makoto, tapping ash on a plate of chicken bones before taking another drag on his cigarette. You've seemed down recently. Flo gripped her glass of oolong tea and laughed awkwardly. Down? I'm fine. Kyoko, Makoto, and Flo were sitting around a low table in a Shinjuku izakaya famous for its imported beers. They'd come here together directly from their office. Flo had initially refused the invitation, citing a combination of exhaustion and not wanting to be amongst the crowds of cherry blossom viewers. It was peak Hanami season. But then Kyoko had grabbed her by the arm and escorted her firmly towards the office door, like a security guard removing a troublemaker from the premises. You're coming with us, she said, ignoring Flo's weak protests, whether you like it or not. Now that she was here, Flo had to admit it felt good to be somewhere other than work, home, or on her laptop in the neighborhood cafe. The only 3 places she'd been spending time the past few months. Initially, Kyoko and Makoto had suggested going to Ueno Park to sit out beneath the blossoms. And when Flo had begun a diatribe on how she thought sakura was overrated compared to the autumn leaves, Kyoko had interrupted her and insisted they go to their favorite izakaya instead. The small Japanese-style pub was sparsely decorated, with tatami reed matting floors and rustic wooden low tables. The air was thick with Makoto's cigarette smoke, despite the restaurant's tables being thinner with customers this evening. You just don't seem yourself recently, said Kyoko, a frown forming on her forehead. You never come out with us anymore. You don't respond to my texts. Even the calligraphy teacher keeps asking why you don't come to class. I had to lie to Chie-sensei and tell her you'd been sick. Flo didn't say anything. She put her glass of oolong tea down and watched Makoto blow out a cloud of smoke in the direction of the table next to them. The 2 girls eating there scowled at him, but he remained oblivious. Kyoko was dressed in her usual immaculate office clothes. Pink polo sweater and cream trousers, hair tied back in a neat ponytail, and makeup perfectly understated, as ever. Flo always felt a little jealous of how effortless Kyoko looked, incredibly beautiful, without even trying. In contrast, Flo's office clothes were shabby and old, definitely not the kind of clothes a Japanese employee could get away with wearing. Loose slacks and a collared shirt were about as smart as she could muster. Makoto looked like every other salaryman in Tokyo, the only unique addition being a classy maroon tie Kyoko had picked out for him in Ginza last month. He'd loosened the tie a little already. I'm sorry if I'm being too direct, Kyoko said, her voice softening a little. Flo couldn't help but smile at this. Kyoko was always direct. It was one of the things Flo appreciated about her. I just worried that... I don't know, that you didn't want to be friends anymore. No, Flo said, immediately alarmed. Of course not. Kyoko was one of her closest friends in Tokyo. Flo wouldn't say she was her best friend. Best implied a degree of intimacy that she didn't have with anyone in the city. Except for Yuki. When Flo and Kyoko had first started hanging out together outside of work, going to calligraphy lessons in Chiba, Flo had even been hopeful of, something more with her. But thankfully, before Flo could do anything to embarrass herself, she discovered that Kyoko was seeing a guy she was really into. Luckily, that guy was Makoto, an affable co-worker whom Flo already knew and liked, and Flo was more than happy to hang out with the pair of them, never feeling like a third wheel.